Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of One Tip Cricket. We thought we would change things up a little bit and talk about some current juicy topics that are taking place in the world of cricket these days. Um, More specifically, Pakistan cricket. Recently we've seen some interesting um, you know clashes on Twitter and social media between Gambhir and Afridi. Thought we would discuss that. I think Afridi went out and gave some ration in Azad Kashmir during the COVID crisis, or which is still going on, and added some political commentary to that. Gambhir, with as expected, had something to say about that. And it just amazes us how ridiculously petty both of these two are. Um, but keeping our biases in mind, we obviously do think that Gambhir is a lot more ridiculous than Afridi. And we thought we'd discuss that for a few minutes before we jump onto another topic. So on your favorite player, Gautam Gambhir, what are your thoughts
Hi,
about?
I Gautam Gambhir. I mean, I have seldom come across people that I think have the ability to infuriate me as much as Gautam Gambhir. I think last time, I saw somebody like Gambhir in the sports world. I can't even recall. Khair, he puts me off. He actually takes me to the point that like वो full India Pakistan scene वापस शुरू हो जाता है मेरे सर में. But then I remember that he's from the same batch that also produce guys like Dravid and Ganguly to calm myself down a bit. That it's not all of them. I mean, I think it's interesting that you said that both of them are really petty. I actually don't think Afridi has gone after him directly in a bit. Maybe like 6-7 months ago, but Gambhir still is always fighting like here or there, trying to get into Afridi's face. The sad part is that I don't personally think he'd ever be able to do that in a one-on-one like face-to-face environment. तो खैर इसमें तो कोरोना के साथ इसके लिए और भी बेहतर है. He gets to be a little bit further away. But for the most
वो भी
part,
तो
yeah,
चुका है पहले
it's yeah ho चुका है. But I
हो
mean,
चुका है पिच पे
that yeah, that was on the pitch, right? मतलब with there's a lot of security around like the pitch. Like what I'm talking about is like
He
in
had
a
to do
more
that while wearing a
casual
helmet.
off. Yeah,
कॉम्बैट
while wearing a helmet, holding a bat. आफरीदी के हाथ में बॉल भी नहीं है, मतलब कि उसी को चबा के उसके हेलमेट में घुसा दे. Um, but in all honesty, like his own, I think it was his own coach or the team psychiatrist that said that he's one of the most insecure guys that he's ever been around, and it just shows in his online persona. It's not even just with Afridi, like even internally against a lot of other guys in India. This is just how he is. It's
He
he's
picked a
also
fight with
been
Virat
against
Kohli
Kohli
once.
as well yeah
Yeah, he picked a
yeah,
fight
yeah.
with Virat Kohli in a game in during the IPL, which was hilarious. Virat Kohli would have eaten him alive.
But like, why waste your time on Gautam Gambhir, right? Again, like, look, think of Gambhir in India and Afridi in Pakistan, or even just both of them as like globally. Like, who
comparison
gives
man.
a huh? There's no comparison. We to keh raha hoon. Like,
It's
who
not
gives a
even
shit?
it's not even worth a discussion. I mean, just look at where they stand, both of them. Forget Pakistan, India. I mean, it's on a global level.
Yeah,
कोई scene नहीं है
neutralize
दोनों
them.
के.
Take their nationalities out of the equation. Just look at them and in terms of like stardom, and you know,
No, look at it in terms of even stats, man. You look at Gautam Gambhir, fine ODI player, यार 40 की भी average नहीं है उसकी, playing in probably one of the best Indian teams. Come on, lad.
I mean, he is responsible for two World Cups, though.
What two World Cups?
And he in
99, sorry, 2015, yeah, sure.
2011,
11,
and then
2011,
He
20,
not
played. He played
15.
well. He played
2007.
well in the final. He
Yeah,
played
in
well in
both
the
of them.
final. But
दो matches
I
खेले
wouldn't
ना
say
सही है.
I wouldn't say he's responsible for the World Cups. He played well in those two matches. There's
Zaire, पीछे क्या
no
हो रहा है?
denying that. पीछे क्या हो रहा
Maybe just a lucky guy. Yeah. I mean, even at KKR, I mean, he was there in the winning days of KKR, and Wasim Bhai was there. It would be interesting to get Wasim Bhai's thoughts on him. I think, but otherwise, yeah, I think what
वसीम
from
भाई
a
का कहीं चब्बा पड़ गया ना गंभीर को. वो वसीम is like double the size of Afridi even.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt Afridi can bury him in the ground, but I think yeah, this is all really kind of immature and I mean, banter to chalna chahiye cricket mein. Cricket is about good banter, but from what I remember, like
No, no,
Afridi
this
even wrote
isn't
in his.
banter. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. This isn't banter. This is straight up insulting. And then Afridi, even in his book, had mentioned, we gave abuses to each other's like relatives, and I think that is like crossing the line. But as far as banter goes, yeah, banter to should be part of the game. But this is just way beyond that.
Yeah, but it's very easy, right? You can see with Gambhir, he has issues with multiple people, many people. With Afridi, how many people has he had those sort of issues with? Very few.
So
So
what's interesting is that whenever Gambhir speaks, it's always an attack on, even when he's attacking Afridi, it's an attack on
Pakistan.
Pakistanis.
Yeah.
And no,
Pakistan
not
means
forget Pakistan, right? As forget the country. Let's talk about the people, right? Like he always like even in his last even in his last message, his thing was that these are the kind of people that are in that country, and it's upsetting because
Hateful, man. It's
it's
basically what.
I mean we know his warmongering rhetoric that he's been going on and on about for so long. I mean, I understand that he's part of a nationalist political party and all that other stuff,
Sure.
but it's ridiculous that he would say that. I mean, yes,
But
Afridi
but there's
probably
a there,
has some.
I think that's not like not part of the story. That is like the story. He is part of the BJP. So like that anti-Pakistan stuff is pretty much in line with like what he is all
yeah, it
about.
could be. For all you know, it could stem way beyond anti-Pakistan.
Yeah.
Like it might
I
even be
just thought like
religious thing, right?
with
It's
like this latest incident, I was a little disappointed. I wasn't just Gambhir, but like other Indian cricketers like Yuvraj and
Yeah,
Harbhajan and Shikhar Dhawan, etc., were like putting out these tweets.
I mean,
Like, I mean,
Dhawan is this guy's twin in
yeah,
every.
but like it wasn't as if like Afridi was attacking like them personally. He would just went after Modi. Like, I mean, these guys could have just, I mean, just shut up and not have said anything. लेकिन इन्होंने मतलब बीच में घुस के, oh, we
well,
donated to Afridi's cause
Bro, that's
before,
because
so
pressure आता है government से यार.
yeah, so there's like
pressure pressure bhi nahi, Umair.
Twitter
For
army.
Yuvraj and Harbhajan, I can understand because the fact that they donated to Afridi's cause actually gave them a lot of negative press in India, which was
Right.
interesting to note that okay, even in a crisis like this, that if they're doing something that's considered a humanitarian effort, uske bawajood, they get put under the pump. So now we're I guess switching over to more of like a political platform than a cricket-based one. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the
No
day,
comparison, yaar.
That's what
yeah,
that's what I was gonna say, right? This this rivalry goes far, before extends from, I think it's from 2007, and generally, though, I mean, sports and politics shouldn't really have.
for all
a role
you
to
know, it
play.
might have been from the day like Gambhir learned his first word. Maybe बचपन से इसको ये issues हैं पाकिस्तान के साथ.
Jose, what do you think? We're keeping up political.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, not even politics. It's just, for me, the saddest part is there used to be a era when we were growing up watching cricket that Pakistani and Indian cricketers would try to build bridges and talk about playing together and trying to get over, and there was cricket diplomacy and everything around that.
Yeah.
And the sad part is we've entered this era where even ambassadors of peace, which cricketers were, are now warmongering, more so in people like Gambhir, who I think Umair tried. He's an irrelevant politician in the BJP whose only means to stay relevant is by saying things like that. So that's how he stays himself relevant, keeps himself relevant. But the sad part is, like, social media, the toxicity on that, the desire to stay relevant by saying absurd things, and then just this decline of cricketers thinking of themselves as being ambassadors of peace, that going away is just a shame, and just shows you how bad things have become in the region as a whole. So it's just not gonna get any better anytime soon either.
Yeah.
I also just I just also want to say I feel like Afridi is clearly going for a political career with like statements like these.
Clearly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
This
And
is
has-
going to be an army backed.
Yeah.
We have a cricketer as our prime minister, so why not?
I mean, there was this conversation that I was having with some of my Indian teammates right now. So I play cricket with majority of them are Indian, and the one thing that we ended on was that Afridi will still be remembered as a cricketer for achieving what he did, and will still be liked by cricketers from and cricket fans from across the globe, but Gambhir won't be. And
The other thing, I mean, I would just
That
say
is
is like, whether it's Afridi or Gambhir, like you look at like these stars in the case of Afridi, like they should be giving back to the sport that they represented. Asad knows this a lot more than any of us, given that he's plugged into Karachi cricket. But like Yunus Khan is running academies, Moin Khan is running academies, Rashid Latif has done it for a while. But wo masala bikta nahi hai because it's someone actually doing the hard work to develop the sport and giving back to it. But when people like Gambhir and Afridi say something political to have a political career or do something like that, that becomes the talk. And I just think like if you're a cricketer and you're retired, your first priority should be giving back to the game versus just engaging in these conversations.
so
Now, Freedy's
Gambhir,
foundation is also
Gambhir,
doing a lot of work, by the way.
just was
no, no,
when
100%.
Gambhir was actually talking about Imran Khan as well, and he made some quote that Imran Khan is only a role model for terrorists. मतलब level बंदा अपना देख बात करने से पहले.
That's way
So
out of left field.
Imran Khan, putting aside all politics, Imran Khan the cricketer and Gambhir the cricketer is like मतलब मेरा सर और मेरे
Zameen
जूते.
Asmaan ka fark hai. Zameen Asmaan ka fark hai.
so
See,
coming
Uzi, that's a very valid point, though. I think giving back should be done. I mean, Yunus Khan, though, man, he's a different kind of breed. He still supports his academy. In fact, he plays matches on cement pitches with sand outfields to date.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree that they should give back.
That actually goes further than just cricketers, right? It actually, I want to say it's probably one of those like problems that we have right now, that anyone who has reached some sort of celebrity status thinks that they can insert themselves into any conversation right now, and it's one of the reasons I think we experience disasters like Afridi.
Social media, man. Social media.
Yeah, it's like, oh, mere followers hain, so I need to say something, stay relevant, and then you get into this little echo chamber where the 50 people that agree with you are the same ones that keep coming back and saying those things to keep propelling you, and it's
तो
so I
थोड़े
just
टाइम बाद
wanted
वन
to,
टिप क्रिकेट पर हम भी टेक्निक्स की टिप्स दे रहे होंगे अजहर अली और सरफराज अहमद को कि भाई ऐसे कीपिंग और ऐसे बैटिंग की जाती है, क्योंकि हमारे भी 400-500 फॉलोअर्स हैं, तो हमारा भी तो ओपिनियन बनता है.
Yeah, man. By the way, does Gambhir run an academy? I'm just
abhi
curious.
double
Like Afridi?
so we need
Afridi
to
runs
double
an
check.
academy. So, I'm just saying that Afridi runs his foundation, right? I'm wondering if Gambhir also runs a foundation.
So he does.
Something.
So there. I was just going to correct Uzair on that. So Gautam Gambhir has a foundation that does charity work in Delhi. He's also affiliated with cricket charities in India, if I'm not mistaken. So
Is it money laundering?
And I will add, I mean, I'll correct myself as well. I would also add that as much as of an a-hole Gambhir is, like, he has also worked hard on getting Pakistani patients visas to go to India for healthcare, right?
Yeah.
So there is that work he's also done. So let's
I mean,
put it out there.
there's clearly a human being inside of that, exterior, whatever that is. It just needs to come out a little bit more.
I don't know if I agree with that statement.
Who cares if it comes out or not, man? I mean, chalo, I think that's like 10 minutes too many on Gautam Gambhir.
Yeah. So the other thing that's been happening lately, and more specifically to Pakistan cricket. So our central contract just got announced, and interestingly enough, we have big omissions from that contract list. So we have Mohammad Ahmed that's been omitted. We have Hassan Ali that's been omitted, and we have Wahab Riaz who has been omitted. Central contracts have typically been rewarded to players based on performance, and that's the thing that Mickey Arthur was trying to get to, and the previous administration was trying to get to, was being awarded to players who have performed well over the last few years, especially in the year before, and have made themselves a critical part of the Pakistan team. I'm fairly upset about the fact that Mohammad Amir has been omitted, and to an extent, both Wahab Riaz and Hassan Ali. But there are arguments for having them in the team, and there are arguments against it. I'm going to keep my. I have a clear bias on this one, and I'm going to say that they should have been included as part of the central contract.
All three of them.
I do think all three of them should have been part of there, because they they have performed for Pakistan recently. They do deserve the monetary assistance that comes with it, which is a monthly salary. Um, Even if they have retired from one form of cricket, or are going through significant injury scares as Hassan Ali are. I mean, more specifically on Amir's case, I think Amir is our best limited overs bowler, hands down. We don't get It doesn't get better than him right now in our team. We have potential players who can
Disagree.
overthrow. There are potential players who can overthrow him, but I do think that at this point, with the economy that he bowls in both T20s and ODIs, he is world class. Um, Wahab Riaz, we have a love-hate relationship with Wahab Riaz, all six of us on this call. He was horrendous before the World Cup, and he was dropped appropriately, and then he magically was brilliant in the World Cup.
Right. Hold
Yeah.
on. Before you expand further on Wahab Riaz, let's go back to Amir for a second.
Yeah,
I actually don't think he's our number one bowler anymore. I just want to insert that in there. Like you know, you said you have your bias and that you think he's world class. I'm not debating whether Amir is a great bowler or not. I still think he is, but I just don't think he's our best bowler anymore.
so who's our best bowler right now? You think Shaheen's
Shaheen
the
Shah
best?
Afridi.
I think
Shaheen
Shah-
Shah, definitely.
Shaheen
I
Shah
think-
Afridi.
I think
Without
Shaheen.
a shadow of a doubt for me.
I think Shaheen is, and I've said this before as well. He's
I
phenomenal.
know you love him.
I love.
him.
I love.
Every time he smiles, तुम्हारा दिल थोड़ा पिघल जाता है.
I
You
love
love him for
Shaheen.
the
too.
smile.
No, I love him as a bowler as well. I mean, his smile is just an additional benefit. Cute तो वो बहुत है, लेकिन I don't think I think he's brilliant. I don't think he's there. I don't think he can lead a bowling attack. And I think he needs a little bit more experience to be able to lead a bowling attack. I think he is going to get there, and I'm hoping that he does, because he would be phenomenal. He already is very good. I just don't see him there. I think it's unfair. I think it's also unfair to make him your lead bowler at the age of 21
Especially in a
or
format
whatever
like
his
this.
age is.
Here's how. Let me revisit this. I think in ODIs and T20s, I'll say that Shaheen Shah has a slight edge over Amir. And as far as tests go, this guy gets very little credit. I barely hear his name get mentioned, but thank God he at least still has a category B contract. Mohammad Abbas is better than Mohammad Amir for me right now.
Interesting.
For me, I think I'm with Khurram on this. By the way, I think Amir is still our
तुमने
best
तो उसको
limited
अपनी
overs
11
bowler.
में भी pick किया था यार. You were the only one.
Exactly. Just because, for me, I'm basing it off what I saw last, and that was the World Cup, right? And Amir was, I agree with Khurram. Like, I don't know if Khurram, maybe we were there, and maybe I don't know if Umair would agree, but
I was
his
there.
body language was one level, I feel, above. And yes, he was leading the attack. You could clearly tell he's leading the attack, and Shaheen is coming in as the second bowler or whatever, right?
But वो गुजर गया ना
Shaheen,
World Cup.
in the future, Shaheen has the potential to overtake, but I still think that right now, the way Amir is leading, his body language, he's showing that he's the lead pacer, putting that pressure, taking those early wickets. I agree, I think Amir is our best limited overs.
And we've also seen.
I have a
Like the
different
reason
take on
why-
that. I have a different take on that. So if he was such a leader, I don't think he would have left the Pakistan team when, especially with a tour like Australia that was coming up and an attack that we had of 3 or 4 pace bowlers all under the age of 20 or 21.
He didn't.
That's what a leader should not be doing.
He
On
didn't.
paper, that age.
Yeah. So
I'm
let
not talking
let
from a personality
whatever.
standpoint. I'm talking about on the
But-
field as a bowler.
No, so that's on the field. मतलब
It's part of
personality
the
से ही
game.
आता है ना. Like that's where that aspect of the game comes from. अगर
So-
है ही नहीं बंदे के अंदर तो वो कहाँ से आएगा?
So let's correct
but
that
one minute,
statement.
let me-
Let's
let me-
correct that statement. He didn't leave the team. He said he's going to retire from Test cricket.
I think he should have done it after the Australia tour.
Okay, so
I think
That's
yeah,
fair.
I think like
But
the,
having
the
said
reason
that,
why he doesn't
I
have
think
like a
he
contract is because he retired from Test cricket. I don't think it's like a statement on his quality or anything. I think this
No,
Misbah
yeah,
wanted
it's not.
to
It's definitely
so
not.
that's what
wanted
This
to
is a
like teach
point.
him a lesson and say, "Okay, bhai, tum
Yeah, 100%.
retire ho gaye ho, you're not. I'm not gonna pick you in like
Yeah, yeah.
contract."
But
Let's
that's the
also
second
make
point I
that
was
clear.
coming to. So that's the second point I was coming to.
Fair.
Having
Ahmad,
said
finish.
that,
Yeah.
I don't think he should. I think he should have still gotten a contract. Maybe not category A, but B या C में तो definitely उसको रखना चाहिए था because he is a leading bowler for our limited overs team. So I think they were a bit unfair with him on that front.
so
I
the,
agree with
They made
Ahmad.
it
I think he
personal.
should have been given a C. They made it personal, and it was basically, you know, out of spite than anything else. He should have
You
been
have
given a B or C
Misbah.
contract because
You have
he's
Misbah
still
in three
someone.
roles.
so
Yeah.
there's a little bit of a, so this is what I wanted to highlight as well, right? So there's so the difference between other boards and our board. Adil Rashid retired from non-limited cricket, all forms, first class, test, everything. He retired from it. England worked with him and brought him back to a tour, and he is now their leading test spinner in every condition. And there's, I mean, this is what annoys me about PCB. If he goes out, if Amir goes out and says
The
that,
next 30 seconds are Khurram venting about the PCB, which we all agree with.
but it's frustrating, right? Like, how do you run a professional organization where if any of your star performers at work goes to you and says, yeah, I'm quitting, what is the first thing that you see? Is that person unhappy with something, and you try to keep them, you try to retain them, and then if that doesn't work out, you say, okay, yeah, I wish you the best of luck, I'll keep in touch with you in the future. How is it that you don't do that in an organization like PCB?
Well,
How
I
do we know
mean,
that didn't
look.
happen?
It didn't happen, let's be honest.
Also, wait. How do we know what Amir was either happy or unhappy with? This guy
He
just
was
made this decision.
he was unhappy. The reason why he quit Test cricket was because he went on tours. The latest one was South Africa. He went on
Yeah.
that tour. He got blamed for the entire series because he wasn't bowling in the 140s. They said that you are the reason why we have lost. Right? The entire country told him to retire. And then when he did retire, the entire country was like, "Oh, how could you do that?"
Wait. When did the entire country tell him to retire?
I
I
don't
I
think
don't
anyone
ये
remember
told
कौन
him
this.
सा
that he
data
should
point आ
retire.
गया?
when
ये
anyone
ये ये तो
when people
ये
are
मुझे नहीं याद है.
when people are blaming,
ARY level खबर आई है ये तो.
so when people are
People were
blaming you,
unhappy with his
Arvani
performance. No one
Arnab
told him that
Goswami
he should
level.
retire.
Right.
so
Yeah, and I think his rebuttal is pretty soft, to be honest. Like, you're an athlete, right? At the end of the day, you're still in the business of like entertainment. There's like ye
but he's
banda,
also still
he's
a
not.
human being.
Yeah, I completely understand, but I'm just saying that his rebuttal was a little bit soft to just come out and be like, "Oh, okay, fine, I'm just leaving." Like, okay, bye bye. Like,
Especially if
theater.
he's competing to be a leader and a
Yeah,
legend of the
that's
sport.
Well,
Like that's
leader
not how
that's
doesn't.
just
legends behave.
that's unnecessary theater, in my opinion. But fine, he wants to move on. Good luck to him. I think we all agree that PCB still should have given him a contract. No one's saying that Amir's not a good bowler. We're not even debating about his void. It's just a matter of fact that when you have Misbah and you have Bakar back in the scene, things get personal very fast, and that's exactly what we're seeing with this contract list. Is that he's been dropped, he's gone.
Here's
But
another
at
thing
some
that we
level,
haven't considered yet. We haven't
I
considered
do.
one other element, which is potentially Amir himself looking at his fitness, looking at his own abilities, and maybe he thinks he can't perform at the highest level, at the test level, right? Where you have to ball extended spells,
How
play
old is
day
he?
after day.
28,
He's
It's not
29?
about age
27
sometimes,
or
yeah. It's
something,
also your
man.
fitness level, right? Sometimes
Yeah,
it's not
so
age.
That if you're
why
not fit
that
at
can be
27,
adjusted.
28, then I mean, you're not a leader by any means.
If he's not fit, then he shouldn't even be playing ODI cricket. फिर बस T20 खेलो, खत्म करो. चार
It
overs में
requires a
spells
different
कराओ.
fitness, my friend. It requires a
Of
complete
course,
different fitness.
yeah,
And that's what they're
of
paid
course.
for, man.
Yeah, this
That's
is
what
your
they're being
job.
paid for, yaar.
ये थोड़ी कि हमारी तरह पहुंच गया Fridays को कि अच्छा मैं आया हूँ थोड़ा सा like
So that's
थोड़ी
like me saying कि यार
असद की
असद
तरह
तुम्हें
पिज्जा
तुम
खा रहा है
DCM मॉडल
कनेक्टिकट में मैच से
नहीं
पहले.
ये वो
DCM
बस
मॉडल ना बनाना मैं फिर भी तुम्हें सैलरी देते रहूंगा. That's like me
हाँ.
saying that. Come on, dude.
भाई मैं तो हमें देखता हूँ हम सारे जैसे कि यार हमारी फिटनेस लेवल देखो हम लोग T20
ओ
खेल लेते हैं शायद 35 खेल
ओ
लेंगे
भाई
मैंने
we
खुद
are
एक दो
all
50
like
ओवर खेले मेरी फटी हुई
हम
थी
लोग
मैंने
मुश्किल
टेस्ट
से
कैसे खेले यार
amateur हम लोग
Asad,
मुश्किल से
we
amateur
pay
cricketers हैं.
we pay to play. He gets paid to play. Like हम पैसे
हम
देते हैं खेलने के लिए.
हम अंपायर को मैच भी देते हैं. हम अपने कैप्टन जो है वो
और उसके
हाँ,
बावजूद भी जिम में जाके वर्कआउट करते हैं, नेट सेशन के पैसे देते हैं, फिर भी सीरियसली रहते हैं. तो मतलब
हम
उसको तो पैसे मिल रहे हैं काम करने के.
all five of us, barring Umair, I can safely say in the US have spent more than 3 or 4 grand on cricket in the time that we were here. Aram se. Like if you actually calculate all the costs, and I don't know how many hours we've put towards it to play on shit dead wickets, जहाँ पे like मतलब कि कभी like बॉल उठती भी नहीं थी अगर आप मई या अप्रैल में खेल रहे हो, पहली बॉल पे आप चले गए. 9 घंटे लगाते थे हम ये सिर्फ ये रिस्क लेने के लिए कि शायद पहली बॉल जो है बाउंस कर जाएगी और आप रोल नहीं होंगे.
3.5 घंटे ड्राइव करते
थे यार. तुम्हारी 80% विकेट्स तो इस पिच की वजह से आई है, इसलिए तो तुम बॉलिंग कराते हो.
तो उससे क्या फर्क पड़ता है, पिच का फायदा उठा.
anyway
जाता है ना कुछ लोग के.
so
either way your comparison is pointless. Like you can't say कि हमारे पास टेस्ट क्रिकेट की फिटनेस नहीं है तो हम आमिर को नहीं बोल सकते. Like खुदा को
I think
on the other player, let's move on from Amir. I was going to say on Wahab Riaz, I don't think he should have been given a contract. I know Khurram has a different point of view, but I just think he's done and he's retiring, and there's no way. You'd rather give a central contract to younger players and encourage them to perform better versus giving a 38-year-old another contract.
Yeah, and go ahead, Khurram.
So my thoughts on this were that, look, if your central contract is a reward to players who you think are who have performed well in the previous year and who are going to be part of your team for the following year, then that's how you grant central contracts, right? Now, Wahab Riaz did perform really well in last year, and he performed at the highest stage during the World Cup, right? He did well. If your plan is not to play him, sure, but can we say that he is not going to be part of the team? They're going to pull him up last minute and be like, oh, कोई और अच्छा नहीं मिला था.
Pace चाहिए.
ऑस्ट्रेलिया में बाउंसी विकेट्स होती हैं तो हमें पेस चाहिए. वो खिलाएंगे उसे.
वो मोहम्मद इरफान भी आ जाएगा.
145 एक और शेन वॉटसन वाली स्पेल चाहिए.
शायद आ जाए.
But
all our upcoming bowlers.
This goes to the PCB a little bit, to Khurram's point earlier. Look, he of course did phenomenally well in the ICC World Cup, but I think the PCB should have had an honest conversation with him and said, Yaar, are you up for it? Are you up for another year or two or whatever the case is? If you are, let's test you out, whatever it is, fitness tests, or have that professional conversation. If not, then retire. You yourself retire, amicably. And I think this is a problem that we've had for generations in Pakistan cricket. The players aren't retiring themselves, or they're not given the right kind of.
And when they do retire,
he
they
has
get
retired though. He did retire from Test cricket though.
He did retire from Test cricket.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And I think he basically.
अच्छा, okay,
basically जो है वो आमिर के साथ जो है ना, he also got like the wrong end of the stick. If Amir is not being picked for a central contract for not, I think Wahab basically got the same treatment.
Balancing
Honestly,
act.
But Wahab retiring at 34, 35 from Test is very different to Amir retiring at 27, 28 from Test.
Yeah, Wahab served his career. Wahab did his career properly. I would actually even, okay, let me ask you guys this. Would you pick anyone and give them a central contract if they weren't playing Test cricket for your country?
Yeah.
No, that's where I would draw the line. I would, if you don't want to play Test cricket,
so
you have to be available. You have to be available.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is what Umair was trying to touch upon earlier before we moved on to Wahab, is that everyone in this list, like if you look at the whole list, A, B, C, emerging players, they're all available to play Test cricket. Whether they get selected or not is a completely different question. But Hazir hai duty ke liye.
What? Okay, so the counter question to that is, what do we play best, and how many tests do we play? Right? I get your point, and I get your point about being available, but हम क्या चीज ज़्यादा खेलते हैं, and what are we competing at the world stage right now for? Right? Our Test cricket we play primarily. We should only be playing with two fast bowlers in a team. When we're playing at home or in UAE, right? So what is it that you're trying to get out of these players that are keeping you keeping you from making that decision कि यार इनको central contract में सिर्फ तब लाना है कि जब ये test cricket खेलते हैं.
और
I
इतनी
don't
क्लैरिटी तो मुझे नहीं लगता पीसीबी के पास भी है कि हमने
Well,
क्यों किसी को कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दिया है.
no, Kyle, I'm just gonna take the other side on this for the sake of it. Is that I think
we're not
you
England
have
or Australia.
yeah, but you have replacements for. I just think you finally have a squad where you have replacements for Amit. Maybe not in the immediate next 6 months or the next year, but uske baad you do.
In limited overs, sure, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm of the opinion that if this guy is bowling at 135, he's still better than our Hasnains
Yeah,
and our
bilkul, no doubt about it. Pace,
in
we
test
all know
cricket.
कि isn't that big a factor, right? Like Pakistan, when we were actually touring South Africa, not this time, but the time before that, Misbah जो लेके गया था जिस series पे, I think if we all recall, fine, Stain did really well, and we got a lot of Stain versus Hafiz jokes out of it. But Philander was still unplayable. 128, 132 की speed पे, there was nothing Pakistanis could do around
He was
him.
bowling at
Mohammad
100.
Abbas was unplayable at mid 120s in the UAE.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not just pace, and I think Pakistan has a really bad habit of just relying on pace as it is.
And I completely agree with that. I don't think that you need to be a tearaway fast bowler who's bowling in the
You don't.
150. I don't agree with that at all. That you need to
Yeah.
be there. My thinking is that if you're getting shit and blame for a series loss because of the pace that you're bowling at and not keeping in mind that you are you're still picking wickets and you're still doing something there, then that is unfair. And if that results to you being you looking at your career and evaluating कि यार मैंने खेलना है is for this treatment, um, and being punished for that decision is unfair. And I think that PCB, as always, has dropped the ball again on a lot of these things. Okay, let's go on to the third player of Hassan Ali. The big omission there was Hassan Ali as well.
Yeah.
Hassan Ali is injured. He's going through some significant back issues. He's been dropped from the central contract. He was part of the contract last year with those back injuries as well. Again, I think that PCB has probably could have handled this a little bit differently, and awarded a lower category contract to him and to give him that. So the contract just doesn't give you money, right? It's not just money that comes with it. There's a bunch of other things that come with it, like access to coaches in the NCAA, access to the NCAA, access to other things that has been taken away from him. Now, I don't know how PCB will help him in his rehabilitation, and I'm sure they will want him back. But that guarantee that's there with a contract isn't there at this point. And that's why
I
I
have one
think
quick question.
I agree. I agree with
question.
you there. Go ahead.
Just one question before this. Is the contract on a quota basis, like, are all these, let's say 30 players or 40 players, are they all quota, or can you add further players also?
It's quota to nahi, but paise to fixed hai na. It's resource based.
Budget
So
fixed.
there's an opportunity cost in giving Hassan Ali a contract. Is that somebody will not get a contract if Hassan Ali gets one. Think of it that way.
Yeah. So okay. So I'll come to me when
So Khurram, I'll go. Go ahead on.
I was going to say, I'm going to go the other way on this. I actually think PCB, I don't know, maybe like press releases and all could have been done better, whatever. But as far as not giving him a contract, it's fine. Look, this isn't a welfare organization. These are athletes. He wasn't able to, come back from his injury well enough within 1 year. And there's no point in giving him a contract if, the news really is that he's not going to be available for the vast majority of it. क्या करना है उसके साथ?
Yeah, so I agree.
Hassan Ali
completely.
Hassan
I
Ali
agree
is a
with
good
you
bowler.
on.
Yeah.
But my thinking, I think, not even on the comm side, right? This should have been something that they should have followed up a few days after the central contract announcement with a rehabilitation plan for Hassan Ali and what the PCB was going to do for him. Because I think you're right. It's not a welfare organization, but at the same time, if you have a high performer going through a rough patch because of an injury, you still try to keep them up and make sure they come back stronger, right? Like
I
we've
don't
heard this
disagree with
from the
that.
Australian experience a lot, but we just the board. I don't know
Pat
what the
Cummins.
board has in plan for him.
Oh, Pat Cummins is a great story. Matlab, I was so upset when he initially had his injury. Khair, usko abhi chodo.
Yeah, but
My
guys,
point
I
is,
mean, one minute. So the PCB is paying for all his medical expenses still. I mean,
yeah,
he is going through rehab with the PCB, whether he
yeah.
has a contract or not. So why are we saying that he's going to lose out on the medical help and NCA facilities and all of that? He's not.
He
I
doesn't
mean, they're taking
look.
care of him.
He doesn't like. He's not in a financial position that he needs charity from the PCB. That's not what I'm asking. That's not what I'm talking about. It's a rehab that's associated with a fast bowler. Right? It's not you and I who are coming back from an injury. Right? These guys are athletes. They need that access to that training facility, to
They're
training
giving that to him.
facility. I don't think they are.
The
Who said that?
articles.
And guys, can I
Isn't he
so
based
for
out of
me,
Dubai?
Who?
No, his
Hassan
wife is
Ali.
from Dubai.
His wife, though, I thought was Indian, but
She lives in Dubai. She's Indian.
तो वो खुद भी तो दुबई में ही रहता है ना.
I don't
Or he
know.
spends a good amount of time. Anyway, my point with Hassan Ali is this. Okay, so I'll just say this. He's caught in a weird situation because A, I don't think PCB needs to give him a contract regardless. But B, the other issue he has is that look at who's coming up and is going to be fighting for the same spots that Hassan Ali used to occupy. You have Naseem Shah, Haris Rauf is in the emerging players category. Mohammad Hasnain has been around for like a year and a half. I'm just going to say that from the board's perspective, if I was in the board as well, I would put my money on any of those guys over Hassan Ali returning to peak performance.
I
If I
agree.
had to pick players.
I agree.
So he's just in a bad
100%.
spot.
Okay.
They gave his spot to Shanwari. That's the
वो भी है, Shinwari भी है.
that's how
So I kind of try to delete him from time to time because
there's
when
no
he's
other way Shanwari
when he's bad, my God, man, when Shinwari's bad, the only guy I can remember is Mohammad Sami level bad. जब उसका like when his form starts to slip, my goodness.
So what's okay? Yeah, we're getting into. We're clearly seeing a pattern in the way that players are being selected for contracts, and a lot of it has to do with pace. And it's a dangerous place to be getting into, but it is what I mean.
Sorry,
PCB is
and
very
Saurabh,
one thing.
can I just add one point also on Hassan Ali SKR? I agree with you on, and you guys can he should probably not have gotten this contract, but obviously access to medical facilities and coaching and all of that to come into full speed. But if you go on his last performances that I saw, whether that was the World Cup or the last kind of domestic series, etc., that he played, yeah, he was actually pretty dismal, both from a cricketing, a bowling standpoint, and then also body language. Like I remember clearly observing his body language, and it looked like ek to koi bilkul hi thaka hua khatam banda lag raha hai. Now, whether that had to do with his injury or not, but then you can say that if he had that injury, why is he playing in the World Cup 11 team, right? Like,
So
or whatever.
if you look at, so I get it, and the one thing that we've been doing and that's been giving Hassan Ali a lot of shit for is we're looking at just his stats, right? Just purely his stats, right? And it's the same thing that we fall under. It's the same thing that happens with Amir as well. As we just look at the wickets column as well. Hassan Ali, the second last game that he played for Pakistan was a World Cup match against England. The last match was against India, where he was horrible. Everyone was horrible. Our entire bowling lineup was horrible. The second last match was against England. He doesn't have any wickets in that, but he was responsible for that spell that won us the game. So the spell where they bowled at 6 runs and over, when Stokes and Root were needed to chase at over 8 or 12 runs at that point, him and Shadab came in and bowled a brilliant 4-over spell that changed the game for Pakistan. And
that's just one performance. He played more games where he was.
Yeah, but he was overall declining in form.
The games before that he was playing were the ODI games in England that Pakistan got thrashed 5-0. Went in.
But even after that, if you look at his PSL performance, it was like very very average.
His PSL performance Abhi Juthi, right, which was during the.
That's the most recent. Yeah.
The way that I look at it is you put Hassan Ali in a situation where he wasn't going to succeed. If he was going to succeed, he would become a superstar again. But and again, it comes back down to the way PCB manages these things, right? You
Yeah,
don't,
I think at the end of the day with him, I would reiterate what On said was that he's in a bad spot because there's a lot of competition and there's only so much budget to go around. And when you have people like Naseem Shah and others coming up through the ranks, it just becomes harder to justify
Yeah,
giving
you can't
someone like
ignore those
Hassan
guys.
Ali a contract. You just
Yeah.
can't do it.
And
I'm
especially
very
when in
excited about
March,
this.
But I think like the
March his injury actually recurred, and he was out. He was supposed to be out for 6 months. So at that point, I mean, you know, if I was a PCB, I would say, यार 6 महीने एक मेरा player ही नहीं खेल सकता, तो उसको I won't give him a contract. Yes, I'll try and get him up to speed. I'll give him the fitness, whatever medical assistance he needs. But at the end of the day, I need to reward the players who will be playing for me.
You're playing one series in those 6 months, though.
What?
Playing what?
You're playing one series in that 6 months, though.
नहीं, but उसके बाद भी तो खेलना है. I
मतलब
mean, look, he can
6
always
महीने
come
बाद
back.
खाली training शुरू करेगा.
Yeah, he can come back.
He
No
can
one's
always
against
come
him
back.
coming back the following year.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's gonna need to come up with a little bit more variety in his plan. Like I've said this before about Hassan Ali as well. Part of the reason why we saw such a different performance from the guy who came in 2017 in the Champions Trophy and like was great to the World Cup performance of 2019 is because he's very one-dimensional bowler. I've never seen Hassan Ali and been like, wow, this guy, his plan A didn't work and then plan B was brilliant. He got figured out, and then everybody knew how to play him and just basically like wait for him to make the mistakes that he does, and he always makes the same mistakes. He's no Amir, he's no Shaheen Shah either. He's a good third guy to have.
But I feel bad for him because he's basically been injured at a point where like the hard work of his career was basically starting, like past that
for sure
2-3 year mark where he could have really maybe taken off or whatever. But अभी होगा कि अगर वो बाद में आके if he's not good, so I mean we're basically going to look at him like a Junaid Khan.
No.
Potential, but ज़्यादा कुछ career जो है वो बना नहीं.
But the guy is only 25. He still has a lot of time on his hands.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but this seems like a major injury. Like it seems.
It is a major injury for sure. But
I mean, his disc is dislocated. It is a hard thing to come back from.
And there was some medical procedure that didn't go well, right? There was some.
Sorry.
Like he was supposed to go to Australia, it didn't happen. Kuch.
Yeah, so his surgery was scheduled in Australia. Flights to Australia are closed. There's a sports rehab thing. I think the University of Melbourne has it or something like that.
Yeah.
Well known for most of our cricketers go there for surgeries. Anyway,
All
right. I think interesting discussion. Thank you everyone for listening. Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Yeah, we'll see you guys again next week. Thank you everyone.